Hello, everybody. Welcome into HQ Spotlight. I'm Katie Moxer. With us for the next couple hours, myself and Jacqueline D'Agostino coming up a little bit later. But we are going to start in the NFL and the AFC West right now. It's saw plenty of twists in Week 9. Denver, of course, continuing to shock the league here. Bo Nix leading another clutch comeback to push the Broncos to 7-2. But it wasn't all good news in the division. The Raiders fell short in overtime after a failed two-point try. And the Chiefs, they stumbled against Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes had one of the toughest outings of the season. So let's take a look at the AFC playoff picture right now. And for the West, you got the Broncos as the division leaders there behind Bo Nix at 7-2. When you look at that wild card spot, you got the Chiefs just in the hunt at 5-4. And joining me now, a man who knows the inner workings of an NFL front office more than anybody. We got former GM and sports analyst for us here, Rand Carthon. And Rand, we're going to start with that CBS game of the week with the Chiefs and the Bills. It seemed like the Chiefs just couldn't keep up with Buffalo in this game. And Patrick Mahomes had one of the toughest games we've seen him on. So let's talk first what your biggest surprise was of this game. So
the biggest surprise for me of that game in particular was how the Buffalo Bills were able to get their ground game going. And not very many people have been successful running against that Chiefs defense, but I believe James Cook had over 27 carries, had 27 carries for the day and had over 100 yards, which you rarely get to see. And we know that Josh is at his best when that running game is at his best, and he was super efficient, whereas Patrick Mahomes only completed 44% of his passes. Josh Allen only had 2 or 3 incompletions on the entire day.
I agree with you on all of that, and I feel like at Highmark it's such a tough place to play, and it seems like the Bills have had the Chiefs number in the regular season, not necessarily when it counts. But let's see the other side of this. Let's talk about the disappointment when it comes to the Chiefs. This has been a team that has been up and down. The talent is there, but the execution isn't always.
No, and it's not. And a disappointment for me with this Kansas City Chiefs team is always their lack of run game. And not saying that they have had, years ago where they relied heavily on the running game. They had 1,000-yard rushers. But in the Mahomes era, in the Andy Reid area, all they ever needed was an efficient run game. Didn't have to go for volumes of yard, but just the threat. And we're talking about an offense now in terms of running the ball. Patrick Mahomes is the third leading rusher. But Katie,
which is crazy.
Katie, the leading rusher has 44 more yards than Patrick Mahomes as the leading rusher on 31 more carries than Patrick Mahomes. So that is a problem for this Kansas City Chiefs team, which has led people to believe that they will be active at the trade deadline looking for running backs. I don't know that that's necessarily true. They just have to be more committed to getting this ground game going.
That is a crazy stat that you just gave out, because Patrick Mahomes traditionally is more of a pocket passer. He only runs when he has to, usually in the postseason. So the fact that he's that close to their top rusher, I agree with you, that is a huge problem. But let's talk Broncos. Let's talk the division leaders right now, because this is a really fun and frisky team. Another week, another late game comeback from Bo Nix and company. Now they are 7-2, and just finding ways to win, Rand, when it's ugly. So what's been the biggest surprise?
The biggest surprise is how they've been able to come back in the fourth quarter. We talk about a game a couple weeks ago where you were down 30-something points. Then you stormed back and you scored 31 points in the fourth quarter. I think entering that game, it was less than a 1% chance that they had to win. But I saw a stat going into the game, going into the fourth quarter yesterday, that they were 3-0 when losing at the start of the fourth quarter on the season. And they entered the fourth quarter of that game losing, and they pulled out yet another one. And so I kind of said it tongue-in-cheek, but it's kind of true. It's kind of the ebbs and flows of Bo Nix, right? And that's what made it tough for us evaluators when he was coming out, was which version of Bo Nix are we getting? Are we getting the Auburn version, which turned the ball over a lot, where you still saw flashes, or are we getting the consistent Oregon version? And I've been saying quarters 1 through 3, we get Auburn. And then fourth quarter, we get the Oregon Bo Nix.
It's still a little volatile for me, though, because you want the other side of it from all of those quarters, because how many times can you come back and win these things? You want to start out probably a little steadier. Is that your disappointment when it comes to this team, or what are you looking for?
Yes, it's the lack of consistency in quarters 1 through 3. It's like, where is this team, the fourth quarter team? And we were in studio yesterday, and we were watching all of the games, and someone, I can't remember who said it, it was like, well, maybe they should tell the team that the first quarter is really the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And get them to turn up. Because this defense is a really good defense. This is a championship caliber defense. We just need to get the offense going in those early quarters 1 through 3 so that defense can hunt and put the game away.
Yeah, a little reverse psychology there. It's like my girlfriends in New York, we're always running late, so we tell everyone, that the reservation is actually 30 minutes earlier.
That is a must. Hey, what time is dinner? It's at 7.
Yes, because you know people are coming at 7:45, 7:30. Exactly. So maybe they can implement a little bit of that. But now let's talk the Chargers here. They showed some real fight last week. Justin Herbert bounced back from that early pick six in that game for a really gutsy win over the Titans here. They moved to 6-3. What has been your biggest surprise with the Chargers?
The biggest surprise for me has been running back Kimani Vidal. We're talking about a guy that started the season on the practice squad and was elevated into a role when Amarion Hampton went down. And you look at it, these guys, their numbers are pretty identical. They both have 66 yards on the season, and Hampton has 314 yards rushing, and he's missed a couple games here due to injury, and Kimani Vidal has 309. He has been a steady workhorse for these guys, and not necessarily, he hits explosive plays when they're there, but he keeps them ahead of the chains, which is really, really huge for this offense.
It is, but I will say I did take him over 70.5 rush yards last week, and he didn't hit that, but we do love Vidal, and maybe I'll go up for him again. Let's talk about disappointments for the Chargers. They've been another team that's been a little up and down.
Well, it starts up front for them on offense, and this offensive line, man, you go into the preseason and you lose your all-pro left tackle in Rashawn Slater, but you're like, hey, cool, we have Trey Pipkins and we have Joe Alt. We can move Joe Alt over to his natural position of left tackle, and Trey Pipkins has a ton of experience and he could play right. Well, then Joe Alt goes down, and then he goes down again against the Titans yesterday, and Mekhi Becton, which was a big free agent acquisition for him, he's missed time. So it's hard to really keep these guys on the field, and that has been shown just in terms of the inconsistency sometimes in the run game. And then in yesterday's game, I hadn't seen Justin Herbert get hit like that in a while. You know, the Titans really got after him. I think they had 6 sacks on the day, but it wasn't until Justin Herbert started pulling the ball down and using the threat of his legs yesterday where they were able to put the game away. So we'll see where we are, because teams expect them to be active at the trade deadline, but I'm here to be the bearer of bad news. There are not very many good offensive linemen out there that people are going to want to trade their assets to help the Chargers mend whatever they have going on.
I always say nothing matters if the O-line isn't good. Though. You could have a great defense, you could have a great quarterback. If that O-line isn't holding strong, you're going to have problems here. So let's move on to the Raiders, because they gave us one of the wildest finishes of Week 9. A shootout with the Jags that ended on a missed 2-point try in overtime. It's just so Raiders, right, that it would go that direction. But what was the biggest surprise for you in this game?
Well, the biggest surprise from that game was the fact that they didn't turn the ball over. So that is good. Yes. The Raiders have turned the ball over a lot, and so that kind of showed up. And Geno Smith, you know, he's continuing to grow and learn this offense. This offense is new for him, but Pete Carroll going for it on fourth down. Well, for the 2-point conversion for the win, to me was like his effort to show his team I believe in them.
Yeah.
When they don't technically have anything to play for at this point, and that's something that a locker room can rally around. And the guy was wide open.
Yeah.
The guy was wide open, but the defensive player just made a good play and tipped the ball.
And that's how it goes sometimes. They don't call him Pistol Pete for nothing. Let's talk about disappointment so far. I feel like there's quite a lot you could talk about with the Raiders.
Pick one. Pick one. No, but honestly, I'll say the offense as a whole. You expected when they hired Chip Kelly as the offensive coordinator that this was going to be a creative offense, because you can remember what he did during his tenure as the head coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. They had guys running everywhere. But this has been an issue for this offense, a lack of creativity, which you hadn't seen. I mentioned Geno Smith in terms of turning the ball over. He leads the NFL with 11 interceptions, and they're 30th in the league in terms of running the ball after you spent the 6th overall pick on Ashton Genty. I promise you it's okay to just sometimes turn around, hand the ball off to the running back and allow this thing to really get going. But this offense as a whole, I'm not quite sure what their identity is.
Which is crazy, because you look
outside of Brock Bowers.
Well, and Brock Bowers is absolutely incredible. But you would think Geno Smith with Pete Carroll again and Chip Kelly that they would move a lot better. So I agree with you. That has been quite disappointing. Let's go ahead and take a look right now at the AFC West Week 10 games, Ran. And thank you so much, obviously, for everything that you provided here. The Raiders at the Broncos. Broncos are 9.5-point favorites. I can't say I disagree with that line. That's Thursday night, of course, at 8:15 Eastern. That total 41.5. And then the Steelers taking on the Chargers. Chargers are favored by a field goal there. That total 44.5. And that is, of course, our Sunday night football game.